Hey everyone, Rarity Dash here. Time for another Patreon-sponsored blind reaction. And this one comes to you courtesy of Cyan Draws, who has requested that I react to two videos from Salmonella Academy, The Tale of Michael Malloy and Tarrare, the Hungriest Man in History. And as a note, this is actually the final May Patreon request. June requests have not started yet. This is June 2nd when you're seeing this, but yeah, the message went out to the patrons today to send in the request, but this is not a June request yet. Those will start tomorrow. This is just a holdover from last month because the patron made the request really late, which is something I don't suggest you do. I do urge all patrons to make the request as soon as possible, just so it's easier for me to plan out my month and know when I'm going to watch what. But, I mean, of course, it's up to you. Anyway... Moving on to the actual content, yeah, we got two videos from Salmonella Academy, which I've never heard of before, and they're The Tale of Michael Malloy and Tarrare, the Hungriest Man in History. Which, yeah, I'm not really sure who Michael Malloy or Tarrare are either. So I just have no idea what to expect going into this. Yeah. I really have no idea. So let's just go ahead and get it started. And here we go. Salmonella Academy. And some fancy music. Today's episode, The Tale of Michael Malloy.
Hey kids, time for another riveting tale from the annals of history. Our story begins in New York in 1932 with a man named Michael Malloy. Not much was known about Malloy except for the following. He was around 60 years old, homeless, an alcoholic,
wonderful,
Irish, and a former firefighter. So one day, a few guys were hanging out in the local speakeasy, including Tony Marino, the owner of the joint, and a couple of regulars by the names of Francis Pasqua and Daniel Kreisberg. And who else stumbles in but old Dusty McGee looking to get his morning fix? Marino's like, you know, I've had it up to here with that Michael Malloy character. He never
up to
pays
there,
his
huh?
tabs, smells like the crevice behind an unwashed ear, harasses my client's hell. Do you know the Hindenburg disaster didn't actually happen? Yeah, it was an inside job by the government to make Big Zeppelin look bad.
I'd believe it.
Personally, I'm glad. One less industry controlled by the fucking Krauts.
The Hindenburg disaster doesn't happen for another 5 years, dumbass.
Oh, bite me. And every day...
Okay. Well, that's wonderful.
So Pasquale's like, yikes. Seems like quite the dilemma on your hands. Lucky for you, I've come up with the perfect solution.
Probably not
I
healthy.
Say we deploy a ploy to destroy that unemployed Malloy.
Well said.
Anyway, I'll take out a life insurance policy on him. Then we let him drink as much as he wants. Obviously he's gonna kick it. I mean, look at him. No self-control. See that? He just drew from the stockpile while there's still moves to be made on the tableau.
Oh, I like that joke.
Then, once he's dead, we get all the money for ourselves. Win-win. The first part of the plan went through without a hitch. Pasqua took out not one, but 3 policies on Malloy's life, with Joseph Murphy, a bartender at Marino's, posing as Malloy's brother and being named as the sole beneficiary. In total, the group stood to gain $3,576, which is like 66 grand in today's money. With all that in place, they begin the second part of the plan. Hey, Malloy. Good to see you, man. Say, what happened to your arm? Yeah, the other day I got in a fight with a goose. Got bit pretty bad. Been leaking pus for a bit.
Gotta watch out for geese.
But hey,
they're awful.
I got the breadcrumbs. Okay, well anyway, guess what? Your
geese
tab
are jerks.
Now has unlimited credit. Oh, cool. Well, what's that mean? It means you can drink as much as you want and we can't stop you. Bet. Naturally, he orders shot after shot and the gang happily complies. It gets to the point where Malloy's drinking way more than should be humanly possible. But instead of dropping dead or passing out, after a while he's just like, "Hi. See ya." Within 24 hours, he's back at it, giving his liver the equivalent of a Tyson uppercut and being no worse for wear. This went on for a few days before the boys were like, alright, we need to up the ante here, and decided to replace Malloy's typical shots with wood alcohol, otherwise known as methanol. Keep in mind, as little as 4% methanol by volume is enough to make a moonshiner go blind, and just 2 shots of the pure stuff should be able to kill a man. But Malloy slammed back just as much as he normally would, totally none the wiser, and was like, still see ya. Anyway, see ya. More nights, he was fine. Soaked some expired oysters in wood alcohol and fed them to him. He was fine. They gave him a sandwich made from rotten sardines and carpet tacks. Motherfucker asks for another. They were like, alright, this man's got
Okay.
a belly. There's gotta be something else we can do. So one day after he passed
that-
out, they drove him half a mile to the park, tossed him out into the snow, took off his shirt, and soaked his head and chest in water. They drive
Oh,
away
God.
and they finally done it. But when Marino clocked in at the speakeasy the next day, Malloy's already there. Just barely even sniffling. Finally, they just said, fuck it.
What is
Ran
this
the
guy?
down with the
Oh.
buddy's cab and backed over him again
Oh,
for good
God.
measure. For once, Malloy didn't show up the next day.
I would
The gang was cautiously
think not.
optimistic. After all, there are 60-year-olds who bite the dust just from one wrong step in the shower, let alone the force of a half-ton of steel going 50 miles an hour. They called all the local hospitals and morgues in an attempt to find where he ended up, but they couldn't get any useful information from anyone. Lo and behold, 5 days later, the guy limps his way on in once
Wow.
again with a mighty thirst and little memory of the incident. The gang debated just icing some other random drunkard, because this one's the fucking juggernaut of but they decided to try one more thing before calling it quits. After Malloy went through his usual blackout routine, they took him up to Murphy's room, stuck a gas line in his
Oh.
mouth, wrapped a towel around his face, and turned it on. Within an hour, Malloy finally stopped breathing. After countless attempts on his life, at long last, they were successful. However, as you might have realized, the final method of murder was a far cry from the simple elegance of the original plan, which is
Yeah.
something they never really thought about until it was too late. Hey guys, what's poppin'? My brother, Michael Malloy, is dead. Can I have money now? Oh dear, I'm so sorry. What happened? What? Why did the man die? Pneumonia? I see. And when can we see the body exactly? So, after a quick medical examination, the men were convicted of first-degree murder and attempted fraud.
Of
and
course.
subsequently sentenced to death by electric chair.
Oh, wow.
And while the executioner flipped the switch, Malloy's ghost sat in the corner, chowing down on some antifreeze and sardine soles, just laughing his ass off. Moral of the story, life is unpredictable. That's why we have insurance for it in the first place. If you ever commit fraud against life, just know that life's gonna commit a little fraud back. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and thank you for watching.
Well, nice. That was a fun little story. Kind of crazy, too. I mean, just got ran over by a car. Like, what the hell?
Hey kids, I think we can all agree that there are few pastimes more grotesque than competitive eating. The concept of
Yeah.
a bunch of guys pushing their anatomy to its limits
Yeah.
just for sport leaves a bad taste in my mouth in more ways than one. But imagine if these men didn't adopt this habit just for fun. Imagine if some gross biological error forced them to eat like this for their entire life. Introducing Tarrare. Tarrare was born in
Tarrare.
France around 1772 to a poor farming family. It's said that his appetite was so voracious that, by his teens, Tarrare could eat an entire quarter of a cow carcass in a single day.
Okay.
You'd think he'd be like mega obese, but no, he only weighed 100 pounds by age
Oh, wow.
17. However, there were still a few things that stood out about Tarrare appearance-wise. For one, he had a huge, stretched-out mouth with horribly stained teeth. He could reportedly fit 12 eggs in his cheeks at once, much like a chipmunk keeping its chipmunk eggs warm. Additionally, when Tarrare was full, he'd get a crazy octomom gut going, and any other time, he'd have a huge flap of stretched-out skin hanging around his waist. He also stank to high hell, even by 18th century French peasant standards. He was described as reeking, quote, to such a degree that he could not be endured within the distance of 20 paces.
Wow.
So between all this and his horrendous outhouse flooding dumps, his family had had enough. Alright, you're eating us out of house and home here. You gotta go, man. You heard me. Kick bricks, Froggy. Wow, he just called a French person a frog. That's so racist. No, it's not. They're all French. The guy just looks like a frog is all. Oh. Well, too late. I'm already offended. That's fair. After leaving home, Tarrare was forced
That
to
was
abandon
great.
steel just to satisfy his gargantuan appetite. Inevitably, people began to take notice of him, and eventually he landed a job as a street performer in Paris. People would hand Tarrare entire baskets of apples, eggs, and even wine corks, and watch in delight as he horked them down without the slightest hesitation. Normally, this went off without a hitch, except for one time when he suffered a severe intestinal blockage. Fortunately, the crowd was kind enough to carry him to the hospital, where he was treated with the strongest laxatives the 18th century had to offer. I would draw what happened next, but it would probably
Please don't.
get my channel deleted, so let's just picture it for a few moments.
Let's not. Let's just move on.
Moving on. Cut to the year 1792. This marks the beginning of the War of the First Coalition. Ever heard of it? Me neither. Who was in it? Fucking everyone. Anyway,
Wow.
Tarrare decided to enlist in the war.
Oh.
After all, maybe that profound emptiness he was feeling was just a lack of purpose in life. Turns out, no, he really was just psychotically hungry. Even after being granted quadruple rations, Tarrare would still be digging through the trash pile whenever he got the chance. After suffering extreme exhaustion, he was sent off to the military hospital in Tarrare. The staff there was so dumbfounded by the man's abilities that they decided to keep him there to run a few experiments. The first of which involved putting Tarrare in a room with a meal prepared for 15 people. Naturally, he ate the entire thing and immediately fell asleep. Next, they presented him with a raw eel. In response, Tarrare crushed the eel's skull between his teeth, slurping down the entire creature. Now, this is hair-clenchingly horrifying for a couple of reasons. Firstly, he put a whole freaking eel in his stomach. But secondly, there had to be some point during digestion where the meat was gone but the bones still remained. Now, for those of you who don't know, an eel skeleton looks like this. That means Tarrare had all of those needle-sized ribs stabbing into the walls of his stomach at once, and he was fine. He also ripped a live cat apart with his bare hands, drank its blood, and ate everything but its bones, and then later gagged up the fur and skin like an owl, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. After reviewing our data, I've come to the scientific conclusion that, yeah, we got a goddamn demon on our hands. But as we all know, with great devour comes great responsibility. Since Tarrare was still technically enlisted, the military decided to utilize his abilities for the greater good. Hey Tarrare, it's me, the General. Listen, could you eat this box with a note in it for me? If you do it, we'll give you a wheelbarrow full of bull organs. Lo and behold, 2 days later, he passed the container in mint condition and was given his reward as promised. With this proof of concept, they made him an official spy and sent him into Prussia with a document in his belly, to be delivered to an imprisoned French colonel. Unfortunately, there are a couple things Tarrare couldn't do that are generally important when sneaking into another country. A, he couldn't speak German, and B, it's pretty hard to maintain a low profile when you're running around like a madman, whipping down garbage and mutilating small animals. So he ended up being captured by the enemy. Initially, he kept his mouth shut, for once, but after a whipping and a day in jail, Tarrare gave in. After confessing that he did, in fact, have vital intelligence snaking its way through his GI tract, the Prussians chained him to a latrine until the box emerged 30 hours later. The note wasn't actually anything important, so they just mock-executed him, gave him a severe beating, and sent him on his way. After all that, Tarrare returned to life at the hospital, desperate for a cure for his condition, but nothing they ever tried worked. Meanwhile, the man's endless hunger continued to get him into all sorts of trouble. He'd often sneak out of the hospital to eat the scraps behind the local butcher and fight stray dogs in the alley for their precious garbage. He'd also seek out patients undergoing bloodletting in order to take all their life juice for himself. On several occasions, he was even caught attempting to eat bodies in the mortuary. By this point in my research, I was so desensitized to this guy that I didn't even bat an eye when I first read that. I was just like, alright. Guess he must have been hungry. Anyway, the hospital staff begrudgingly tolerated Tarrare's buffoonery, until one day when he went too far. Well, Tarrare, you've only had 3 mess hall raids, 4 miscellaneous trash-related mishaps, and 1 cadaver defiling. So I'd say, so far, this week's been pretty good. Doctor, we should probably inform you that a 14-month-old child has gone missing from their room.
Oh no.
Tarrare, look at me.
Oh no.
Did you eat a fucking baby?
Oh no.
Tarrare was promptly kicked out of the hospital.
I would hope so.
Out and about doing, whatever horrific shit you can imagine. When he came back, he was suffering from advanced tuberculosis and died shortly after arrival. During his autopsy, the surgeons found that when they looked into his mouth, they could see all the way down his throat and into his stomach cavity. As you can imagine, his whole abdominal region was profoundly deformed. Basically, if this is a normal human, this is what they found inside Tarrare. Just like the man's mind, we can see that around 90% is devoted towards food and 10% towards everything else. So, moral of the story here is that, no, you know what, not even I can find anything resembling a moral here. Not all stories have a point to them. Sometimes they're just sad and disgusting from beginning to end. And now a word from our sponsor. As you can probably tell, I'm a very visual person when it comes to learning. I firmly believe that engaging visuals are an essential teaching tool that allows for much deeper comprehension than plain old walls of text. That's why I'm pleased to introduce our sponsor, Brilliant.org. We all know that math and science are really important to master, and Brilliant's elegant UI and step-by-step design makes learning seemingly complex topics very intuitive, especially for visual learners. Their straightforward graphics, delightful animations, and interactive puzzles make it easy and fun to hone your own critical thinking skills. Personally, I've always been super intrigued by neural networks and all the things you can do with them, but I've always been too intimidated to research them in depth. After learning about Brilliant, I actually started taking their course in the subject, and I gotta say, it's been such a pleasurable experience that I plan to continue with it in my own spare time. To support me and learn more about Brilliant, go to brilliant.org/salmonella and sign up for free. Also, the first 200 people that go to that link will get 20% off the annual premium subscription. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and thank you for watching.
Oh, cool. That was fun. Yeah, that was good. Two rather interesting, quirky stories there. Completely different, but both alike in just how weird and amusing they were. The first one, just the man who would not die. Just, I can't believe did he really eat nails? That's not like some kind of exaggeration, is it? Like, I mean, and then he got run over by a car and was still fine. Wow, what the hell? Just like, who is this old man? Yeah. Just that's completely crazy. And then the second one, I think that one was even more insane. Just the fact that would that yeah. Tarrare. I don't even know what to say about that one. It was just weird. Weird story. Weird character. And knowing it's real actually is just kind of insane. But, yeah, that's how it goes, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but this was fun. I enjoyed these. This kind of stuff is it's pretty cool to me. So, yeah, there we go. Anyway, hope you liked the reaction. Let me know if you did, and see you in the next one.